for me, especially graphic design is always communication. So I'm extremely interested in the translation of the content to visual form.
Hello everyone, this is Mario and welcome to a new episode of Design Interview 10 Questions, where we talk and discuss with designers from all around the world. Well, so while everything is stopping, we just talk about design, and today we do it with Erich Brechbühl, who is a Lucerne-based independent graphic designer, and he's mainly known for his amazing posters like the one I have behind me here. So that is his preferred mode of graphic expression. After studying typography, he became an apprentice graphic designer under Niklaus Troxler, one of our interviewee in the previous episode. Afterwards, he owned his own studio, Mixer, in Lucerne since 2003. In 2009, instead, he founded the Weltformat Graphic Design Festival in Lucerne, and he also started the regular exchange meeting for graphic designer called Show and Tell, that since 2012. For his poster, he won a lot of awards, international awards, and in 2007 he became an AGI member. So welcome, Erich. Glad to have you here today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's a great initiative you're doing.
So, as I always remember to all the interviewees, and probably the audience will be bored about this sentence, but you're totally free to answer whatever you want. And if you don't mind, we can start with the first question.
Of course.
Yeah. So, what made you become a designer?
Why?
What made you like? There was a story.
Okay. Actually, it's actually a long story, because as a teenager, I always wanted to be a film director. So I was making movies with my colleagues, and during that time, I also realized the more professional you get as a filmmaker, the more the more the bigger effort you have to work on. So, but of course, I also was designing the posters for these films, and I realized doing the posters, it's a really easy thing or a short-term thing, and I can also be a designer, or I also can be creative, and maybe this was the first time I was confronted with graphic design. So that's why I also started to do an apprenticeship as a typesetter or typographer at the printing company, and then with other initiatives we were doing with this film group. We were also organizing concerts, so that was a link to Niklaus Troxler, because his hometown Willisau is also quite close to my hometown, and it everything is connected somehow. But it's more of a coincidence that I am where I am now.
Yeah, well, I mean, looking at your posters, you now, in the recent period, you also started to animate those posters. So you also try to combine this thing of movies with posters design.
Yeah, actually, I was more surprised that the motion. Yeah, the break for motion design or film was quite long. So for me, it wasn't that natural. With my with my apprenticeship at Niklaus Troxler's place, I was more focused on the printed poster. So Niklaus told me everything should be printed in silk screen, which I still like, But nowadays I also feel a little bit more flexible, and I was always interested in different techniques. So yeah, that's what led me to also moving posters.
And what is design for you then? Is something that is moving or something that is more static?
I think to be very catchy as a poster, I think it's still more interesting to do a static poster, of course, because it's quite easy to be very visible with motion. So actually, it could be a shortcut for visibility. But in my motion design, I also try to avoid that it's just an effect. So motion can also add something, add more content, or tell something. So that's what I'm interested in.
And what is design for you? Is like a translation of messages, concept into just a frame? Because I mean, you're focused more on posters.
Yeah, for me, especially graphic design is always communication. So I'm extremely interested in the translation of the content to visual form. So um, that's probably also the reason why my poster designs look very different, because I'm always starting with the content, what I have to communicate, and that leads to the visual impression. So I also try to avoid different trends in graphic design. I'm interested in seeing them, and I also want to know what happens in the graphic world, but I'm not someone who just copies it and does it because everybody does it. So yeah, trends could be like different tools that I use, but only in a very in a way that I really feel it's the right place to use it.
And for example, there is one poster of you, which is the one "Welcome to Lucerne,"
Mm.
and that is not just a poster, but is somehow a political message to the
Yeah.
city of Lucerne. Um, so when you design your poster, like, are you trying to create something behind the simple surface of the poster, and you are conscious of that, or is something that comes automatically?
Um, I always try to communicate very directly as possible. So you mentioned this "Welcome to Lucerne" poster, and I think it's a good example, because when I wanted to do this poster, I wanted to make it look like a tourist poster. So there was not a lot of space for graphic design or yeah, fancy design. So my main aim was, in the end, it should look like a tourist poster. But there are a lot of tourist buses on it, so it's really hard to that people still recognize it as a tourist poster. Um, and that's why I also think this is the it's for me, the decision to make it look like a tourist poster is more important, that it looks like very contemporary or from now. Yeah. So I think I always try to de, to define everything in a very conceptual way and find the most striking way to do it.
Uh, you said before that usually you start with the content when you start the process to design a poster. So what is the process that you do with your posters, but in general in graphic design?
It depends. Everything. Every poster I start, I think, a little differently. For example, my most favorite poster genre is theater posters, because with theater posters you really can look completely different every time, because every play has its own world, has the director has an idea how it should look like, and that's why I really dive deep into the play. I realized I don't have to read the whole play, because in the end I still need one simple aspect from the play. I don't need to know the exact story. So a conversation with the director is much more important for me than reading the play and don't know what the director's idea is. So starting with that, I realize what is the surrounding of this play, where does it happen, what happens, and part I try to focus on these different layers and combine them to make it completely unique. So the poster design is just for this specific play. And the best what can happen is that after someone saw the play, he even thinks different about the poster, because it gets this aha effect.
And your posters are always a bit, let's say, provocative, and they invite the reader to try to understand the poster. Is something that comes because is your style, and so at the end you realize, oh, it's like this, or is something that you look for?
I definitely look for it somehow. Maybe it's really hard to define it, because I'm struggling every time when I started to design a poster, and also right now I'm working on a poster, and I always think like I'm completely beginner, because I don't know anything about this topic. so I'm just a graphic designer, and I don't do a graphic design poster. I do a poster for a specific client. So it's hard to tell.
You started as a typesetter, and then you worked for Niklaus, who is from a previous generation of graphic designers, and today you found your own space, your own way to design posters, and so you saw a lot of different things, and so different point of views. And do you think perfection exists in design?
Yeah, it can. I think something is. It depends what kind of perfection. Because every time I'm in a poster festival jury, I realize there are different ways for results, and I think the perfect poster is it communicates perfectly a specific content, and it still looks great. So I think content and form should merge to one simple key element. And in the poster juries, I realize there is more good form than nicely communicated content. so I'm still looking for that approach. I think there is still a lot possible, and I hope other graphic designers also see that way. So not only form counts.
For example, Niklaus Troxler said in his previous interview that for him perfection does not exist. It's more that you play between chaos and perfection, and you never go to one or the other one, but you have to play in between. Sometimes you need more this, or sometimes you need more that one.
Yeah, but then I think he more thinks about the formal aspect. Of course, yeah. A poster, if you decide that it should look chaotic, it's the perfect poster if it is chaotic, of course. So, but in the end, it's still a conceptual thing. But I learned a lot from Niklaus, and I think I'm still thinking similarly. And I was always amazed by his how various or how different his posters look like, because he really can do perfection, and not only on the computer. I saw some final drafts before the computer, and it's crazy. And when you see, on the other hand, his very he's very rough jazz posters that look very directly. It's always one attitude, and you say, okay, I want to go in this direction, so go completely for it. And that's what I also I'm looking for. So I try to imagine in which direction I want to go, and depending on that, I completely go for that. And I don't add some stuff just because you do it now. So I think Niklaus' posters are a perfect example, because every poster is one. It's not. He doesn't add some stuff because it shouldn't be there.
And as we said, you learn from him, and now I mean, you found your own space, but you have a broad vision of graphic design, especially posters. So, what's your opinion regarding the contemporary design trend? Like all the stuff that are going now.
I think nowadays it's a very interesting time period. When I'm thinking back when I left school, I think a lot was very based on the computer, and people tried to do new stuff on the computer, which is interesting. But now I think the new generation, they don't care about the computer. They only care about a tool. The computer is just a tool, and that helps a lot, I think, to focus on the content, because you still can decide which tool you should use. And that's what I always try to do myself. If I have an idea that should be crafted very handmade and should look handmade, I do it like that. But also, for example, the poster behind you, this was a perfect example for me to go out of my comfort zone, because I had to realize, with this idea I want to visualize, I have to find a new visual way. And I learned new tools on Adobe Illustrator, and that's why I was able to do that. So I think that's the interesting time now to that people have different tools, so they are not only aware of okay, I have to always go like that. Of course, there are some dogmatic designers who maybe go very typographically, but I'm not really interested in that. And there is a great younger generation who's not only doing that.
Regarding the new generation, the new generation started immediately using computer in graphic design.
Yeah.
Do you think in general technologies and especially internet had a good impact on graphic design?
I think so, yeah. Because years before, everybody was talking about a specific style of course, for example, Swiss style. I think nowadays something like Swiss style can't exist because everyone is influenced globally. So maybe one can tell, okay, that's a little bit sad because culture disappears. But I'm more of a positive guy, and I think that's the interesting thing. That's the interesting time we are in. We can get influenced by anyone, so on the whole planet, and that's why we can come up with completely new ways of or completely new looks, or and I think I never invented something, because I'm always curious about what happens, and I'm looking around, and as I told you, when the right moment comes for a specific content, I use that in my own work. So it's not just okay, it's a trend, and I use it because it's everybody does it. That's the interesting thing. We can be influenced from the whole planet.
You said that you're often taking part of a jury for poster competition, and you also give lectures. Like once you came to Basel to give a lecture, and so you see a lot of young graphic designers, like students, not just young out of the university, but really students.
Mm.
Do you like the education that is now?
Yeah, I'm quite a skeptic, but that is more connected to myself, because I never thought school is a good way to learn something. And that's, for example, also the reason why I after school I had to do the obligatory school. I wanted to go away from that, and that's why I did 2 apprenticeships. So I was super happy to be finally a practic. So I could do something that that leads to something somebody can use. And I'm in most school I'm missing that, because the students are told to do some fancy projects which they can imagine themselves, but it's never connected to a product or a specific need from someone. And of course that can be interesting, but for me it was never very interesting. Every work I did in my life that I only did for school is super bad, because I never had the push that it has to be good. So I really need this push a client gives me, and I also want to to see it printed
And
or used at least.
and would you like to teach, or
Sorry?
would you like to teach?
That's also a question I'm asking myself for a long time already. And right now, I'm still too interested in doing my own work. And I don't see when I would have time to teach, because there's also a lot to do for the Graphic Design Festival Weltformat. And besides of that, I should do some nice works. So so right now, I don't think I will teach, but maybe in the future, it's still an opportunity for me as a personal change.
And sometimes you have interns, right, at the
Yeah,
studio.
yeah.
And what is the suggestion that you usually gives to your interns, an advice for afterwards?
I think the main advice is a thing I also try to think for myself, is stay curious, because when you do normal school, you think when you have a graduation, you're finished and you can do it. You're a graphic designer, and maybe that's true, but not for long. So if you don't stay curious and learn new stuff, you disappear. And I think that's what kept me going, just to try out new stuff and find new techniques, and I think that's what keeps me going also.
And where do you see the designer in the future? Because you said that a designer should always adapt and know new things and get update. So
Mm.
do you think also the role of the designer will change in the future?
Yeah, I think it won't change as a translator. I think the designer will be always a translator, and but it will change the techniques we use, or the tools, that they will change, of course. But I think the role will be the same.
Yeah, also because sometimes came out in the discussions with other colleagues of you, like the designer today is not just a translator, but sometimes he also creates the content and generates the content. So maybe is this the direction that that the designer is going into, or not?
Yeah, for me, that was also a thing. I also did my own projects, but it was never only about graphic design, or I never thought about it as just a project that is nice for me to do as a designer. Every project was connected to a certain need. So, for example, Weltformat Graphic Design Festival is such a project, or our Im Stey concert venue. I am doing the posters since 23 years now for that venue, and it was more like, it's always like a certain need, and some colleagues think the same, so we start a new project, and I think in this direction, I would support everybody to do that. But if it's just doing graphic design for graphic designers, I'm not really interested in that.
So the last question is about this global pandemic that we are facing now, this invisible enemy. Do you think the graphic designer can do something in this moment to help somehow? Because we already mentioned your Welcome to Lucerne poster, that was something to create a reaction. So instead, for example, Niklaus said that today to do posters in this moment is not useful because it's useless because no one is in the street, so no one can see the poster.
That's right. Of course, that's why I see the poster as a medium also in a different way. You can also use posters or these visual images we are creating also on social media, and they work exactly the same. I think. So I think we can do something, but of course initiatives like yours are much more important right now to do, because everybody is talking about borders, closing of borders. So nationalities are much more important thing now, and just yeah, and I think it really helps to have projects that push these limits and show, hey, we are a global community. It's not about nationalities or borders. It's just a thing to prevent what could happen. So for your health. But I think we really need to push people that they think, yeah, it's a global pandemic. So everybody has the same problem now, and I think that also connects us, but hopefully not in a nationalist way.
Well, thank you for the compliments, and thank you for taking part of this project, Erich. It was nice, especially to see. I mean, for me it was nice, but I guess for everyone to hear before Niklaus, that was your maestro, and now it's Erich.
Yeah.
It was nice.
Yeah. I was also happy when I saw he was also already interviewed, and yeah, also a lot of my friends like Thomas from Studio Mood, and it's really fun to see this project going.
Thank you very much, Erich.
Yeah, thank you.